Hi, I'm Jeff Tucholsky. I'm one of the deacons here at Shepherd's Heart, and I'm continuing my series summarizing the book Imagine Heaven by John Burke. In the last session, I talked about whether or not we would be ourselves in heaven and whether we'd be with our loved ones and whether they would recognize and know us. And the answer to all those questions are yes. In this segment, we're going to look at and talk about what heaven actually will look like. Virtually all the people who've had near-death experiences describe it as the most beautiful place that you could imagine. The way people describe it, it sounds almost like science fiction fantasy. I encourage you to read in the book some of these descriptions, so I can't really do them here, but they're really remarkable. And for me, I'm quite intrigued and enticed about the ability to walk, run, fly over this beautiful landscape. In the book of Revelations, John describes heaven in magnificent terms. Streets of gold, crystal seas, gemstone walls, and gates of pearl. And some NDEs, including who are blind, actually describe this so accurately, even by those who've never read Revelations, like children. And the author always thought, as I did, that these descriptions were metaphors and symbolic in nature. But from these descriptions, it certainly suggests otherwise. And in addition to the similarities with the book of Revelations, they often describe many other beautiful earthly qualities, also magnificent, beautiful, and breathtaking. And it seems these experiences of heaven produces a very strong emotional reaction. And the author suggests that one of the reasons we have such a strong reaction to beauty is that God has put that in us. He put this into our heart, and it's what calls us home. Because it seems that no matter what we experience in beauty, we always are looking for the next experience. And similarly, God has also put eternity in our heart. If we read Ecclesiastes 3:11, it says, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end." So the author is suggesting, and I've heard this before, that we all do have a place in our soul or in our heart for eternity and for searching to come home to that beauty. And the scriptures also describe heaven as more beautiful than we can imagine. So if you've ever secretly nursed a fear that heaven might be the ethereal, fuzzy, less than real cloud place, think again. The language of scripture and the words NDE use to describe heaven over and over emphasize just the opposite. So if heaven is this brilliant place with earth-like qualities, it strongly suggests this temporary life here on earth is the fuzzy, less than real shadow of heaven's brilliance. And why not? God made us in his image. Why would he not have made earth in heaven's image? Paul writes in Romans 8:20-21, "All creation was subject to God's curse, but with eager hope, creation looks forward to the day when it will join God's children in glorious freedom from death and decay." What is also described are other types of nature: meadows, grass, trees, all of vibrant colors and exuding and emanating light. All of this exquisite beauty is just like Earth, just better. In one amazing story, a 5-year-old who had died and came back described walking in a beautiful garden path lined with flowers. Later in life, she actually painted a picture. At one point, she was with a doctor and she told about this experience and showed him the picture. He asked if he could get a print, and she gave it to him, and he hung it in his office. Sometime later, another person came in, an older lady. She looked at the picture and said, "I've been there." She says, "When I was 5 years old, I died and came back, and that's exactly the path that I was on." And she added that when she talked to Jesus, he said to her, "I will always be with you." So lots of stories. Not only are there trees, there are mountains and rivers and bodies of water. And in some cases, they describe the water as living water, where it emanates light, has different colors, and just seems to be alive. A common accompaniment to all this beauty is the beautiful music, like 1,000 voices all singing in perfect harmony. And as I mentioned earlier, time and space seem different. As our consciousness leaves our body, we speed to and are alive in a new dimension, where a moment can seem like a lifetime and vice versa. One of the examples is the life review, where people seem to see their life go by in such a short time, but they see it all. And again, we are all familiar, I think, with this from 2 Peter 3:8, with the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. And this difference in time and space may also be why you can see things at great distances or travel very quickly. Now, there's more in the book about this space-time dimension, but quite frankly, I can't really explain it, and it hurts my brain to even think about it. So I would refer you to the book if you want to get more on this topic. Another question might be, what about sleep and eating in heaven? The need to recharge our bodies. And well, the answer is that you won't need to or want to. You'll be full of God's light and energy all the time, and you'll be rested at the same time you're doing other things in God's rest. So sleep is not necessary. Another question people ask is, will I know what's going on back on earth? We commonly hear people talk about after someone passes away that they're looking down on them from heaven. It does seem like from these NDE experiences that there is some connection to earth, especially sometimes like right after someone leaves their body and before they go through the tunnel and into the light. But it's not clear what happens after that. And you have to remember that these are temporary experiences. And one of the things that is often mentioned by those who've come back is that they can only go so far and then they hit a barrier, perhaps not going fully all the way in to heaven. They might be able to see it, but they can't go there, kind of like Moses looking at the promised land. So it's probably hard to draw some conclusions because of all this. Now, we do gather that loved ones are there to greet us, but we don't know how they know. Now, we know that God's presence is here on earth, and angels also exist in our realm to be here to guard and support us. But of course, we are not angels, as we are two different created beings. So whether we're being watched from heaven by our loved ones, I just think it's just something that we'll have to find out when we get there. So we're going to close for today. And next time, we'll begin exploring what our relationship with God will be like in heaven, and that love that we'll never want to leave. So again, thanks for listening. God bless, and I'll see you on the next one.